Friday the 28th. Friday the 28th, that's like 5 weeks since the official announcement of the quarantine or lockdown of Wuhan and pretty much the lockdown of China. So it's already been 5 weeks, and a lot of things have changed in 5 weeks. And today I'm going to tell you why I think the government is not telling us the full story and why we are no longer going to be reporting on the scoreboard. Have a look at this thing. It's like a high tech. It's actually a solar powered park bench with USB ports. You can actually charge your phone while you're sitting by the riverside shooting a video. Pretty cool, huh? Things are actually getting back to normal in Shanghai. More people are coming back into town, and as you can see around now, there's a lot more people going back to work. But the crackdown measures have been becoming more and more stricter. They're checking everybody in front of every shop that you go into, in front of your compound. When you go in, you need to get your temperature checked. Every building, you need to get your temperature checked. You go to the bank, you get your temperature checked. Shops everywhere. So actually it's a pretty rigid protocol, which I think is still pretty good, because actually it can track everybody like that. They're actually, even in the metro now, you actually have to scan a code. There's a QR code that you have to scan, so they're actually tracking everybody. So this is kind of like that social credit system. It's like in full effect now. They can trace where you go, and apparently I heard also that they're tracing your phone, so they know where you travel or where you've been. There was also a suspicion about the cash, actually money, being able to transmit the virus. So actually the government has recorded a lot of money. They're either like disinfecting it or burning it or something, but most people are already using just online payments anyway. They're just paying through WeChat and through like Alipay or something like that. But doing so, they also means that the government is actually tracing everybody's. I'm pretty sure they already do that before, but they're actually tracking everybody's purchase, so they can see whether they think that you're a suspect for like buying medicine, or like what kind of purchase that you made, or what's your travels, can dictate whether you will be a spreader or not. So you can draw your own conclusions about that. Like people said that the methods that they've used here were really really totalitarian, really dictatorship, sort of like a draconian measures to stop the virus, or at least to contain the virus. But actually I think over time now it is working. But like as we said before, what we feared was that the amount of people coming back to work, this is the time when it's actually going to be a possibility that it could be transmitted again. And actually we already heard some stories from today that actually up in Beijing, that Ayi that was returning from her hometown actually came back to work and infected other people. So that means that it's out there. It means that it's possible that as more people coming back, the chance of infection will be greater. But as you know now, the virus has already spread. It's already all in different parts of the world. So and actually, like we said before, like it's really hard to keep count or keep track of this thing. I made a video before. I'm going to put a link in here what I was asking, if the numbers were real or not. And like I said, in my personal opinion before, I don't think that it's quite naive to think that they can even track or know exactly how many people have got it. And now, because it's spread around the world, it's really hard, because actually basically it just keeps going up. And there's so many tests that you can do. There's so many people that can do tests. So you could have 1,000 people, then you can have how many tests can you do a day? 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 100,000. Then it gets to a point where it just mathematically becomes impossible to track and trace how many people have got it. You have to look at what's the biggest reason why the government wouldn't tell us these real numbers. What do you think would happen if they told you the real numbers? What if the situation you knew now, if the situation was like what we do have now, if you knew that like 4 weeks ago, what would people be like? So like, okay, a month ago they announced that what did they say? There's only had a few people had it, and then nothing to worry about. They just put you under quarantine for a little bit. No one said anything. But if you look at the thing now, what about if you said, just going by the numbers now, 80,000 people. If you said there's 80,000 people that have it and that the country's going to be shut down for the next couple months, what do you think would happen? People would just go crazy. They'll be screaming in the street. People will be running around. It's just it'll just be a mass panic. And this is the reality, that it's kind of like the government's duty to maintain the law and order in any country, not only in China but anywhere around the world. And as people that live in the city, we kind of like rely on the society to be in order and in balance. The system isn't designed to take on any big changes. The most things it can take is maybe a small variable. So like you can see, for example, trucks are coming in to deliver stuff. Everything is delivered, or you can see behind me, everything is delivered like on a day-to-day basis, or like on a maybe every other day, at most every week. Back in the day, back in school 30 years ago, I used to work in warehousing and distribution center. And actually, before, you would see a massive warehouse or at the back of a supermarket, you would see lots of stuff, just storage there. But nowadays, nobody stores inventory. It's kind of like a little bit pointless. Or obviously, it's a really big stretch on budget and the feasibility of actually having lots of products or a lot of things stored in your shop. It's not a good business way. Nowadays, everything is set up like on a just-in-time basis. So like everything is delivered. You can see when somebody purchases something off a shelf, and then they will track the product, and then they say, oh, that inventory is low. So the next day or the next day after, they deliver again. There's not much storage in there. The same goes for any kind of service and any kind of medical staff or any kind of operation or business. You won't have an excess of people just standing around doing things or just waiting for an emergency. You won't have lots of guys just like, it's just, a company doesn't just have a lot of people. A government, there's not just people just on standby waiting for a disaster or waiting for something. For example, like in Australia with the fire, the bushfires recently. So you can see like a few fire stations, maybe the normal setup is accountable for one or two fires, and the guys will come out and they'll put out these fires. But what about when there's 10 fires? What about when there's 50 fires? Like in Australia, 150 fires going. It's pretty obviously that the system gets overwhelmed very quickly. It's just not designed to handle that kind of drama. So basically what I'm saying is that you can see, if the situation is hand now, and if the government did just say, okay, it's got a mass it's a killer outbreak, a lot of people are going to die, a lot of people are going to be sick. Do you think that, is that a smart play? You know what's going to happen? People are just going to rush the shelves. Everybody's going just like they did. They rushed the shelves, they filled the hospitals. The system was overwhelmed, even just like order people coming out. So in the stores, I think they're designed just like people cannot shop. They're not designed to maybe like 10% of the population go out shopping a day. What about when you got 50% or like half the people, or people just mad panic buying everything in the stores? The obviously inventory runs out real quick, and then not only inventory runs out, you're just going to have like just mass chaos. The system cannot handle this thing. So therefore, this is the main reason. The panic people will just be going crazy if they knew that. You can just look at what happened now. Instead of this way, what the government does is like release the information stage by stage. This way the normal people can accept. For example, like the school, he tell you the school was shut down for a week, next 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, he shut it down again, and he can extend it. This way, people sort of like receive the information, they get time to process it, and they can move on. This is what we're saying before, is like the other day they said I think people were coming back to work is actually because some guy just sort of thinks, oh, they look outside and it looks okay. They didn't really hear about anybody dropping dead in Shanghai. But is that really the case? Is the number really dropped down really low now? Or is it just convenient that the numbers are just lower now just to calm people down and say that, oh, the numbers is low, there's no more people getting infected, so you can go back to work? I'm not going to play negative, or I don't want to say that I'm already an optimistic person, and I won't say that this is the fact that it's like that they manipulated the numbers just to sort of like brainwash the people to control the situation better. But as you would think, that as a government, that's kind of like his job is to control the society. So actually or like to keep law and order. So that's kind of like what we expect. We want to be safe, and if we didn't, once you said it, you just see people just going crazy. So right now the data for the infection is actually pretty low. So they said like 80% of people doesn't get it, or they don't know they have it, and then you have 20% that can maybe be infected by it, and then you have the only 2%, 1 or 2% that actually can die from it. So you got 100 people, 100 people, 80 people is fine, no one knows they even got it, but 20 people are going to be infected or feel sick, and then maybe 1 or 2 didn't make it. So actually in that case, when you look at it like that, the numbers itself is actually, it's actually pretty good, it's pretty low. So actually in this case, the infection rate itself, like, I don't think it's actually a bigger worry. But then when you start to expand that, when you start to take that bigger and longer, it's kind of like, what about 1,000 people? Okay, what about 10,000? What about 100,000? Then you get 1,000 people dying. You know, it gets more and bigger. Then once it goes to 1 million people, it keeps getting bigger. Then the overall, maybe the rate of infection and the death rate is low, but actually once it gets the volume and once it keeps spreading, then I think that's the actual danger point. But then we got to say again, is like, how do we know what how does the government keep track of this thing, and why are they going to tell us this thing? They will tell us what we want to hear. I'll use this as another example. So back in the day, the pollution, if you look at the reading of pollution, before it's always been dirty, but once they started getting a tracking device, and then people would start to track it, they didn't know that how dirty it was before, until you had an app that tell you, oh, the AQI is in any normal, in a really clean place, like Switzerland or something, maybe it's only like 30 or something. Okay, in a really clean city, it's only around 30. If you're in a normal place, in a more of a built-up environment, maybe it's got the 40 or 50. On a dirty day, it's already sort of saying 70, or maybe it's like if it's 100, already 4 times the normal amount. That would be really considered like really bad. But instead, in China, before it was always 100, and they were saying, it's really bad. The air's really bad, so instead of making the air cleaner, what they did was just change the system, just the judging system. It went from 100 was like hazardous or bad, or like 120 was really bad, 150 is terrible. But now 120 or 150 was normal or good. So instead of the system just said that, so 120 people saying, actually the air's getting better. Every day the rating is still good, but actually it wasn't getting better. He just actually pushed the scale up. So if you get my point, this is the same thing with this virus. How do you know? How can you track this thing? This is the thing, is like, they can change the judging standard. They'll change the system already to change, like how many times it just keeps changing. It'll just keep changing until it can match what you want to hear. And then when you think it's good, people are just relying, like, that's what the government, that's what people want to hear. They want to turn on the news and they want to hear everything is okay, go back to normal. So then you go back to normal. If you think it's bad, but then instead of like a picture with a red color and a sad face, put a green color and a happy face. Go back to work. Everyone's, oh, that's good, smiling. It's a smiley face.